Shut up. Shalom, Yahweh, to the brothers. Shalom, Yahweh, Shema, to the sisters. This is DC, Washington, D.C. Monday class. On Monday, this is the history class. On Mondays, we teach history. We're going to continue into first Maccabees 9. We're going to go on. We left off at 8. We're going to pick it back up at 9. Maccabees is a wonderful story about, and it's about Israelites fighting to keep their culture, fighting to keep the laws of the Most High, and fighting to keep the protection of the Most High. You know what I'm saying? Like right now, our life is in shambles because we have taken on the culture of America. You know what I'm saying? There's all so much trouble and so much harm that comes in following the culture of America. Within what we eat, our relationships. The reason why our relationships are so dysfunctional is between man and woman and family, brother and sister, and cousin. Our relationships are dysfunctional because we follow America's advice.
Right.
But if we follow the Bible's advice, our life will be way better. Your life is in shambles because we do not fight to keep the laws of God's laws, and we don't know what God's laws are, right. And that's because our oppressor has snatched them and took them from us, has killed us to erase our history out of our lineage, and that's what happened to Maccabees. We had different heathens, we had Romans, we had Persians and Medes and Babylonians that will come in, take our people as captive, and then what they would do is try to make us forget our laws or kill us until we forget our laws and make us follow their strange, disgusting customs.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? So that's what's going on. That's what's going on now. The Maccabees is a story about brothers being brave and deciding not to side with the oppressor who was so strong. Like when you read Maccabees, you hear about how the oppressor had hundreds of thousands of men in their army. And at that time, brothers was only an army of hundreds or 2,000, 3,000 men. And they're going against a powerful king who had catapults and all kind of weaponry and armory, and hundreds of thousands of horsemen and hundreds and thousands of elephants and different beasts to go to war. And we fought against that huge number because we had the Lord on our side.
Right.
And that's a big point. That's a point of the point of Maccabees, and the whole Bible shows you we're so small. But if we have faith in the Most High and follow His laws, then He will protect us. And we can conquer a huge number. So let's pick it back up in First Maccabees chapter 9.
Come on. This First Maccabees chapter 9 verse 1. Furthermore, when Demetrius heard the Nicanor and his hosts were slain in battle, he sent Bacchides and Alcimus into the land of Judea the second time, and with them the chief strength of his hosts, who went forth by the way that leadeth to Galgala, and pitched their tents before Mesoloth, which is in Arbela. And after they had won it, they slew much them. Also the first month of the 150 and second year, they encamped before Jerusalem, from whence they removed and went to Berea with 20,000 footmen and 2,000 horsemen. Now Judas had pitched his tent at Elasa, and 3,000 chosen men with him, who seeing the multitude of the other army to he so great were sore afraid.
And you see that, and like I just said, Israel always had a small number, and the Lord would do that on purpose to show that it wasn't the numbers that it wasn't. Israel didn't win the battle against our enemies because of our number. We won the battle because the Lord was with us, and it didn't matter the number. So you see here, the enemy Demetrius, he sends 20,000 footmen and 2,000 horsemen. And it said, now Judas, who's an Israelite, picks 3,000 choice men. 3,000 versus 20,000. And 2,000 horsemen. That sounds strange. You know what I'm saying? Right now, you know, if you about to go have a fight, let's say two hoods fighting or two group of people fighting. If it's 5 of y'all and 20 of them in the neighborhood, 30 of them in the neighborhood, 5 of y'all gonna run. Mm-hmm. But not if you with the Lord. When you with the Lord and the Lord protects you, you be surprised at what the Lord will do. Those 5 men, you know what I'm saying? The Lord will use those 5 men to strike fear into those 30 men. You know what I'm saying? It can happen. Go ahead.
Come on. Whereupon many, in the middle of verse 6, whereupon many conveyed themselves out of the host, insomuch as abode of them no more but 800 men. Verse 7, when Judas therefore saw that his host split away, and that the battle pressed upon him, he was sore troubled in mind, and much distressed, for that he had no time to gather them together. Nevertheless, unto them that remained, he said, let us arise and go up against our enemy, if peradventure we may be able to fight with them. But they dehorted him, saying, we shall never be able. Let us now rather save our lives, and hereafter we will return with our brethren and fight against them, for we are but few. Then Judas said, God forbid that I should do this thing, and flee away from them. If our time be come, let us die manfully for our brethren.
We read this one already. But this is showing Judas had fought many wars in the past before, and had a less number than the enemy most of the time, all the time. But this time, the reason why the Lord wasn't with him, and the reason why it was fearing those men wasn't, the Lord wasn't with them in their courage. They were not courageous, and the reason why they weren't courageous is because Judas had made an oath, would try to make an oath with the Romans, so he can gain friendship with be an ally to the Romans, and then they can fight against Demetrius. But that's not what we do. We don't join hand in hand with the enemy. You know what I'm saying? Because eventually you'll be betrayed.
Right.
And the Lord, and moreover, the Lord is a jealous God. The only reason why Judas tried to make an oath with the Romans is because he heard of the Romans' reputation, how strong they were. So he heard of their strength and their might, and would say, you know what? Let me try to join forces with them against my other enemies. And the Lord did not like that, and that's why He took the spirit of courage away from these men that day. And later on, Judas was killed in that war too. You know, after putting in so much work. We're going to skip on because at Parsha chapter 9, at the bottom, you'll see that's when Judas was killed. When Judas is already dead, so we read chapter 9, and then we're going back. So we're going to skip to chapter 10. We're at 10. Might be at 11, really. Let's go ahead and read 10.
Mm-hmm. Is First Maccabees chapter 10, verse 1. In the 160th year, Alexander, the son of Antiochus, surnamed, I think we read this too as well, sir.
Yeah, you go ahead and read that one.
Surnamed Ephanes, went up and took Ptolemaeus, for the people had received him, by means whereof he reigned there. Now when King Demetrius heard thereof, he gathered together an exceeding great host, and went forth against him to fight. Moreover, Demetrius sent letters to Jonathan with loving words, so as he magnified him. For said he, let us first make peace with him, before he join with Alexander against us. else he will remember all the evils that we have done against him and against his brethren and his people.
Right. So if you're wondering who Jonathan is, you'll see that the three leaders was Mattathias in the beginning of First Maccabees, because we had chapter 10 right now, but in chapter 1, you'll read about Mattathias. He was the brother who stood up against the king's chiefs and officers who tried to get him to be the first one to eat swine and to pay the king tribute. And he tried to get Mattathias to do that because he was popular in that city. And our enemies know about the influence of leaders. Just like, today, a lot of us follow some celebrities, especially as teenagers. We follow a lot of, as far as children and teenagers and young adults follow a lot of celebrities. So, and the celebrities are our brothers is the black entertainment and black athletes and black hip hop and R&B, our hip hop and R&B artists are big influencers. So they were and that's why our children dress like them, because they are big influencers. So Mattathias, the enemies wanted to use Mattathias to influence the people. So that's why they asked him to eat the pork and to pay tribute and to put pork on the holy altar, so everybody else could follow Mattathias. Mattathias chose not to and chose to go to war against his enemies. And when Mattathias fought many wars and got old, or when he passed away, Judas picked up. I believe his son Judas picked up in his stead. And then now Judas fought many wars, and they said he fought so many wars that it couldn't even be recorded.
Right.
He fought so many damn wars, but sometimes you got to keep yourself sharp, and also have brothers around you to keep you sharp, to not fall weak. So after so much work, at a time he had got weak and heard the great reputation of the Romans and wanted to join forces with them. And the Lord wasn't with that, and the Lord had him to lose that war as soon as he joined forces with the Romans. Now, when Judas was killed, Jonathan rose in his stead. So now we're on a third person who's been leading Israel to fight back for the laws of the Most High. So that's who Jonathan is. Jonathan is a brother who's leading Israel against these wars against Demetrius, the Greeks, these Persians, and all these oppressors. So now Demetrius is trying to join forces with Jonathan before he joined forces with Alexander, who is over the Romans, I believe. So what they're trying to do is just play chess games. One enemy is greater than the other. So it's like, wow, well, we got to get Israel to be on my side. No, let's get Israel to be on my side. And that's how it is. Just like you got to imagine if Israel today, like right now, America's army is strong because they have Israelites. They have black and Latinos in their army. If, all the Israelites left a U.S. army, and I'm not telling you to do this, but I'm just giving an example. If everybody if all Negroes wanted to move to China and join China's army, or move to Russia and join Russia's army, whoever has the Negroes will be in their army. Other people, the opposition will be afraid. So they'll be afraid. They wouldn't know what to do. America will piss their pants if black people stop fighting their army and fighting their forces. Especially if you go and join another state, another country, and join their army. So they'll really be acting a fool and wouldn't know what to do with themselves. They'll be so afraid. Let's continue on.
Come on, sir. Verse 6. Wherefore he gave him authority to gather together a host and to provide weapons, that he might aid him in battle. He commanded also that the hostages that were in the tower should be delivered him. Then came Jonathan to Jerusalem and read the letters and the audience of all the people and of them that were in the tower, who were sore afraid when they heard that the king had given him authority to gather together in hosts. Whereupon they of the tower delivered their hostages unto Jonathan, and he delivered them unto their parents. This done, Jonathan settled himself in Jerusalem and began to build and repair the city. And he commanded the workmen to build the walls and the Mount Sion and about with square stones for fortification. And they did so. Then the strangers that were in the fortress which Maccabees had built fled away. Verse 13. Insomuch as every man left his place and went into his own country. Only at Bethsura certain of those who had forsaken the law and the commandments remained still, for it was their place of refuge. Now when King Alexander had heard what promises Demetrius had sent unto Jonathan, when also it was told him of the battles and noble acts which he and his brethren had done, and of the pains that they had endured, he said, Shall we find such another man? Now therefore we will make him our friend and confederate. Whereupon he wrote a letter and sent it unto him, according to these words, saying, King Alexander to his brother Jonathan sendeth greeting.
Right. So now you got two heathen kings. You got Demetrius, who's a heathen. You got King Alexander, who's a heathen. And they're fighting back and forth, struggling back and forth, trying to get this Israelite, to try to get Israel, the nation of Israel, to join sides with them and to join their forces to go to war against their enemies. You get what I'm saying? It's like if you know what I'm saying, if black people and Latino people were like a nothing people, then you wouldn't be important.
Right.
But these heathens are hearing of your story. Just like America. America hears of, just think about right now, you got the Olympics going on. And they see the fastest people. The NBA. The NBA goes around and they have Olympics, like all the Olympics, it's the country going against countries. Mm-hmm. And usually it's US. Usually the US wins a lot because they have Israelite slaves as their players.
Right.
That's why they have Israelite slaves as their players. So of course the NBA is going to win gold every time. Of course, the young lady Biles is going to win with the gymnastics, and of course, and then even now with Jamaica, the fastest man, Usain Bolt, mm-hmm. He's going to win because he's an Israelite too. Of course, whoever whether it's U.S. or if we just drop U.S. and just say a black man or Latino man, they're going to win the gold in the U.S. I mean, in the Olympics. Go ahead.
Usain Bolt said that there was supposed to be someone coming up behind him who's supposed to be, supposed to basically take his place when he leaves. Mm-hmm. And that dude is from Canada, but he's I want to say he's a Levite.
Right. So of course now behind him is a Haitian who's also Israelite. Usain Bolt is expecting him to be the person who's going to take over for him. So as long as the world knows, as long as you have a black or Latino fighting in your wars and fighting and sports is replaced for wars. So now, as long as you have a black or Latino running for you, playing for you, representing your team, and it's so sad and crazy because all the racism that we're dealing with in America. Get shot by the cops, get discriminated against all over America, all through the world. Every other race discriminates against black and Latinos. But when it comes to sports and when it comes to building an army, that black and Latinos are essential to your sports and your military and your forces. You get what I'm saying? So it's crazy. And of course, right now you got Demetrius, who's a heathen, and Alexander, who's a heathen.
Right.
Who's fighting. Alexander hears that Demetrius made, some kind of oath with Jonathan. Now Alexander comes writing, my brother Jonathan, trying to make write the letter to him. Let's continue to read.
Verse 19. We have heard of thee, that thou art a man of great power, and meet to be our friend. Therefore now this day we ordain thee to be the high priest of thy nation, and to be king, and to be called the king's friend. Slack, if if I could.
Mm-hmm.
Who the hell is he to ordain any of us to be high priests?
Right.
Who is he?
It's Esau, man. Esau thinks he's powerful and like he's arrogant, and that's how a lot of those kings was. Just like how they always give like Perseus or Darius, like how they the tall homosexual, effeminate looking dude in 300.
Khan.
You know what I'm saying? He's like, I'll make you a god, I'll make you be praised. All you gotta do is bow to me, and I'll make you. This is the same offer. It's the same offer right here. You know what I'm saying? And in the movie, Leonidas decided not to, fight against him because really, who is he?
Right.
I mean, he's strong and powerful, of course. And in that movie, the Spartans those 300 had died, or a lot of them had died, and they sent one brother back.
Mm-hmm.
And now they had built, a bigger army. But, it's just showing. But at that time, they were richer than those 300. They were richer. The king is richer, so he's like, I'll give you an offer. Same thing here. I believe here. At this time, we were in a constant cycle of the kingdom falling and rebuilding, falling and rebuilding. That's why I say Jonathan, once he got the authority from Demetrius, it said that he went and freed the captives out of that land, and then started to settle. And he said he settled in Jerusalem and started to build it up.
Right.
Because we always built it up. Then some heathens come and take it. It was this constant battle, and we always had to rebuild and rebuild and rebuild. So we wasn't completely rich or powerful. But the only reason why we were winning and powerful was because of the Most High God.
Okay.
These other heathens are back behind money.
Right.
Money, and that's it. But it showed that. But we learned through King Antiochus, once he got poor, he said he was paying all them soldiers to be on standby for a year.
Mm-hmm.
Then check his bank, seen a joint saying, open up his bank, and there's got mobs coming out. He is empty. He tried to go to another land to collect tribute, and them Greeks wasn't having it. So you see, money runs out, but the power of the Most High does not.
Right.
That's why we got to lean on. That's why we got to lean on the power of the Most High. I'm not saying we shouldn't have money. You got money to build things up, but that should not be. We lean on money too much. And you will learn a lesson from it because it could easily be gone.
Right.
We got to lean on the power of the Most High. But you can just go ahead and continue.
Okay. And to be called the king's friend. And therewithal he sent him a purple robe and a crown of gold.
Something about that purple, man.
Okay. And require thee to take our part and keep friendship with us. So in the 7th month of the 160th year, at the feast of the tabernacles, Jonathan put on the holy robe and gathered together forces and provided much armor. Wherefore, when Demetrius heard, he was very sorry and said, "What have we done that Alexander had prevented us in making amity with the Jews to strengthen himself? I also will write unto them words of encouragement and promise them dignities and gifts, that I may have their aid." He sent unto them, therefore, to this effect: King Demetrius unto the people of the Jews sendeth greeting. Whereas ye have kept covenants with us and continued in our friendship, not joining yourselves with our enemies, we have heard hereof and are glad. Wherefore now continue ye still to be faithful unto us, and we will well recompense you for the things ye do on our behalf.
Right, just paying them off, just paying them to be friends and paying them not to join enemies. That's all it is. But really, before, and that's the thing. I believe Commander General YAHANNA brought this out, whereas though once America and China and Russia fight, they really gonna be worried about going to war with each other, and they're really not really too much worried about Negroes.
Right.
I mean, they're gonna want us to fight, but what he was saying by worried about was like, I believe them like fighting us and killing us how they doing now. When World War III happened, it may lessen the killings of black people because they're too busy fighting each other.
Right.
So now, before Alexander, you'll read Demetrius and Israel are fighting each other. As soon as another enemy comes, now it's, I apologize for our wars. I apologize for taking your people captive. Please be my friend. Please don't join Alexander. Now you got two enemies fighting each other. So now we got to make the Negroes, we got to make Israel a friend. You see how that's going right now. Let's go ahead and continue.
How many times?
26.
26.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas ye have kept covenants with us and continued in our friendship, not joining yourselves with our enemies, we have heard hereof and are glad. Wherefore now continue ye still to be faithful unto us, and we will well recompense you for the things ye do on our behalf, and will grant you many immunities, and give you rewards. And now I do free you, and for your sake I release all the Jews from the tributes and from the customs of salt and from crown taxes.
See, now all of a sudden, now you got an enemy. Now everybody, all your people that I stole, I'll release all the Jews. I'm not gonna all the tributes that you gotta pay me. I can stop, and I'll stop the taxes. I'll stop taxing y'all. Now all of a sudden it will stop. That will happen if black people and Latino people follow the Most High. You'll see whoever the president of America is. You'll just see America loosen up a lot. Like all these restrictions, all this hell they got on us, all these different taxes, and stopping black people from getting certain things because of their credit score, and stop black people from buying certain properties and small business, and stop black people from getting certain cars. Like my own rib was trying to get a car, so he even stopped it. Like some people already passed it. Like with the car dealership, you talk to like 2 or 3 different people. So you get a car, the first person, I guess, who's a salesman, whatever, try to get a loan for you. They approved the loan. They approved this. They approved that. And so some last person got to approve the last thing. My rib went through all the people who approved check. Went to the last check. Some heathen just hating. Oh no, I ain't want to give it to him. But you will see if we praise the Most High, if we worship the Most High, to follow His commandments, the whole world, like the Moabites might start, the chicken wings are $6. Moab will make it $2. Like Moab might give the chicken out free, or Moab will probably try to start hiring black people.
Right.
And Moab don't hire no niggas.
Right.
But if we follow the Most High, they'll try to do any and everything to be their friend.
Right.
And just like this was going on now, but once again, the bigger thing is this what I'm talking about? And if people just say, you know what, if black people just say, I'm tired of America. America is treating us so bad. And just say, we're going to migrate. Like black people at one time try to migrate to Africa. Mm-hmm. But if we as a whole in droves throughout 3 or 4 years, like just constantly just leave America to another continent, go to Australia, Africa, try to go to another continent, you'll see America do crazy things. You know what? You guys can have 10 states in America. Just dedicated to black people. Y'all can have 10 states. They'll make crazy offers that you'll never see, you'll never believe. Go ahead.
Slack, you said a few things. if that were to ever happen, they will set up covert ops in wherever we go, and try and destroy wherever we are.
Exactly.
And the other thing you said about your rib, I saw an interview with this dude, this Jake, was in prison. He had a prison term. I want to say it was like 11 and a half years, and he was eligible for parole. And when he got parole, first they were denying it. Then he served his full term, so they had to let him out. Mm-hmm. They granted him parole, but the prison was like, nah, he's too bad. He can't leave. So they kept him in prison. Even after his sentence was complete, even after the parole board said he is free to go, the warden of the prison, the people who were in charge of housing the inmates said, no, we're not going to release him. And he had to go to court for like a year and a half in order just to get free from the prison system.
Yeah.
After he served his course, his term, and the parole said he can go.
I didn't even. You bringing that up? I didn't even know that going to happen. You saying, the court or the judge gives you the sentence and drop the gavel. You got to serve 10 years. You serve your 10 years. The board saying, okay, you serve your sentence, you can leave or be on parole. But now, after you serve your sentence, the actual jail, the jail can keep you.
No, they couldn't.
Well, they tried.
They said
that doesn't make sense. But even the fact that they kind of did keep him for a little bit. Even the fact that they could do that is ridiculous and shows that they don't give a damn about black Israel. Like how you keeping them now against the will? Like hopefully he was able to sue them for doing that and get millions from them. Should have got $1 billion from them.
I don't know if he sued the prison system, but he got out. He started doing other things. He's wealthy now. Mm-hmm. But even still, after that, he said after a year, he said a few years after, he got so messed up in the mind where he couldn't even cope like being out. Right. He would visit, the youth center just to be inside of a prison system,
right.
Or he would go to like the prison where he was at and sit on the highway and just look in for hours.
It's crazy. That's like Stockholm syndrome, or close to Stockholm, or if it's not Stockholm syndrome, it's another word like where as though you're just so conditioned and used to being in there. When you out, you don't even know what the hell to do. That's just like it's some meme or some little thing where as though it's this picture with an elephant tied up to a rope, tied to a stick. And then like after some years, they take the rope off the elephant leg, but the elephant stays in that area because it thinks that it's tied to a stick. So the elephant won't roam, but the elephant can just go off, can leave that area. But it's so used to being tied up, it don't. And that's the same thing with brothers. Be some brothers that like be, in the hood or in the hood, and some brothers never leave the block. Mm-hmm. Or some brothers never even try to go 2 hours away.
Right.
Say they live in D.C. There's some brothers who have never been to New York, which New York is 6 hours away.
Sir.
They've never been to Philly, which is 2 hours away. Mm-hmm. Some of them never even been to Virginia Beach, which is 3 hours, 6 hours away. Because they're so conditioned to being on a block.
Right.
It's ridiculous, man. Well, that just shows you, how destroyed we are. And we got to most definitely come back to the Most High to be free from all these things. Yeah, let's go. Let's continue.
Come on.
Ooh, verse 28, 27. 20, go 29.
Come on, verse 29.
Mm-hmm.
And now I do free you, and for your sake I release all the Jews from tributes and from customs of salt and from crown taxes and from that which appertaineth unto me to receive for the third part of the to receive the third part or the seed and the half of the fruit of the trees. I release it from this day forth, so that they shall not be taken of the land of Judea, nor of 3 governments which are added thereunto out of the country of Samaria and Galilee, from this day forth or forevermore. Let Jerusalem also be holy and free, with the borders thereof, both from tents and tributes.
See, and if you've been reading with us, if you've been reading this, reading the Maccabees with us, you'll know that in the beginning and all through, the heathen king in the beginning. The heathen king came and killed Israelites and forced them to follow his laws and forced them to eat swine's flesh and forced their kids to not get circumcised. And then they found out those baby boys were circumcised on the 8th day. They were killed. And it said, leave your laws and follow. The king said, leave your holy laws and follow my laws. Now here you go. The king has another enemy, another strong, another kingdom that's strong. Now he wants you to join his forces. And he's saying, look, be holy. Go follow the Most High. Follow God. Don't follow my laws. You can follow God's laws, and I'll free all of you. You can follow God's laws. Just fight with me. That's how terrified they are of, their opposition.
Right.
Go ahead.
Kind. Verse 32. And as for the tower which is at Jerusalem, I yield up authority over it, and give the high priest that he may set in it such men as he choose to keep it. Moreover, I freely set at liberty every one of the Jews that were carried captive out of the land of Judea into any part of my kingdom, and I will that all my officers remit the tributes even of their cattle. Furthermore, I will that all the feasts and Sabbaths and new moons and solemn days and the 3 days before the feast and the 3 days after the feast shall be all of immunity and freedom for all the Jews in my realm.
Right. He said, now the Jews that's in my realm, y'all can even go back to y'all holy days. Whereas though at first he wanted you to stop celebrating our holy days, stop celebrating the Sabbath on Saturday. He wanted to cancel all that and to worship and for you to worship Zeus and Hades and all the other Greek or Roman gods, whatever gods that person had. He wants you to worship them. When it comes to another enemy, he like, look, you can go back and have your Sabbaths. You can do the new moon. You can have Passover. You can do anything you want. Just join my forces, man. That will, you know what I'm saying? You can, and that's what, you know what I'm saying? You can have your oppressor groveling at your feet if you turn back to the Most High. If we all just turn back to the Most High. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to. And I know we all want to. You might think about, you see them kill. You see them kill your family. So it's natural to think, oh, we got to get back with violence. The Lord is going to give the enemy the violence, right. But it's through the Lord, and the Lord is going to use to do for violence. What we got to do is follow the Most High and turn back to His laws. And the way we fight. We fight our oppressor by not following his laws. I don't mean don't pay taxes. Don't quote UPK saying we saying don't follow Moses, don't follow the laws like that. We saying don't celebrate things that are against the Most High.
Right.
If you want to fight against your oppressor, the fight is not being gay.
Right.
It's not eating pork, crab, shrimp, or lobster.
Right.
It's not celebrating Christmas. Not shooting fireworks on the 4th of July.
Right.
Fireworks are not unclean. We had fireworks at the Lord's Passover, but we were celebrating something holy.
Right.
Celebrate something holy. Now, we got another high holy day coming up in September. If you want fireworks then, bring the fireworks. And I seen all kind of excuses yesterday. Black people, we ain't celebrating 4th of July. We just like cook out. We like fireworks. I like to see fireworks too. But you a dummy if you're doing that on you still a slave in Uncle Tom because you all doing it on the day your oppressor told you to do it. Rather, if you so-called don't celebrate 4th of July and you just like to have the fireworks and the cookable family, why are you still? I thought you don't follow men. I thought you were a leader and a follower, black man. Well, be a true leader. Be a true leader. Don't be a follower and celebrate it when the oppressor, when America tells you to. Do it on your own. Do it on your own family reunion. Do it on the day when you have your own cookout. And, let the fireworks go. UPK did it.
Right.
We did it, in April? We let fireworks. Our fireworks were lit and shot in April.
Right.
On Passover.
Right.
A high holy day. A holy holiday. Not when our oppressor told us to do it. Follower. You ain't no leader. You a follower.
Right.
And that's good because we are shepherd. I mean, we are We are the lost sheep of Israel. But what we got to do is follow the righteous shepherd, and not let America be our shepherd, because America is the evil shepherd, and let this lamb get eaten by wolves and bears and lions. A righteous shepherd would not. A righteous shepherd would fight and kill the lion, and fight and kill and stand against the animal who's trying to bite the lamb and the sheep. Right. Go ahead.
Sorry, if I could. If they wanted to light off fireworks for something so-called freedom, why didn't they do it on Juneteenth? I ain't hear not one firework.
Right. Juneteenth came, y'all was so happy that America finally nationwide acknowledged Juneteenth. There were no fireworks on Juneteenth, but we had all the fireworks. I seen so many black people I know. Look, there was one lady pulled up in her car. She had a trunk. She popped a trunk, had fireworks. Then I looked on Instagram. There was a brother who had his backyard full of fireworks, selling the fireworks on Instagram. They was doing it all. Nothing wrong with fireworks. Let them go and celebrate them on the day that you had victory, or you remembering a day when your people had victory, or a day of celebration for you when you celebrate your culture. You know what I'm saying? You only do it on the day of the oppressor's independence.
Right.
You were still slaves in July 1776.
Right. You
were still a slave. So what the hell are you doing? What the hell are you lighting fireworks for? You're a lost sheep. We are lost sheep. We all are lost sheep, but you follow an evil shepherd. America is an evil shepherd who does not have a hedge around their sheep.
Right.
Go ahead.
Kind.
We'll pick up on verse
35. Verse 35. Also, no man shall have authority to meddle with or to molest any of them in any matter. I will further.
But you on chapter what?
Chapter 10, sir. Chapter 10, verse now 36. I will further that there be enrolled among the king's forces about 30,000 men of the Jews.
They say molest. Oh, wait a minute. What kind of molest is that? Is that they? You gotta check and see that molest means pedophile molest. But go ahead, read. I'll look it up, because it said no. It said also no man shall have the authority to meddle with them or to molest any of them in any matter. But go ahead. Let's read 36.
Verse 36. I will further that there be enrolled among the king's forces about 30,000 men of the Jews, unto whom pay shall be given, as belongeth to all king's forces.
Right. He even saying, we'll enroll. There should be enrolled among the king's forces 30,000 men of the Jews, who pay shall be given, as belongs to all the king's forces. I mean, like, I'm trying to join. See, that's the thing. They wanted to join they wanted to join the armies and pay them. That's all it's about. And we won't try to make it seem good. We're gonna pay them, and go ahead.
Sloppy, if I could. It's just like Esau's military now. They are in the hood and in the high schools in the hood, saying, "Hey, we're gonna pay you. We're gonna pay your college. We're gonna pay all your education. You're gonna get free health care. You're gonna get all this other stuff, and then when you get out, we're gonna give you some more stuff, as long as you serve faithfully in our military."
Right. When I was in high school, I remember the military coming. I got a cousin who just came out of boot camp about 2 or 3 months ago, and now he comes out. They give you a signing bonus. I believe his signing bonus, if he passed the test or got a certain score, the signing bonus for him was like $20,000. So he got that, and then came out. And now he's able to, because he's in the Armed Reserve, he's able, or when he retires, he's able to buy a house. Like he can go to the bank to get the loan for the house.
VA home loan concept.
A VA home loan, and they'll make it easier for you guys. Not for you guys. Like he'll make it easier for people that were in the army.
It's the YAHANNA. It allows you not to pay a down payment on it. It's a guarantee. It's a guaranteed loan, and you don't have to put a down payment.
That's what he told me. He told me, he said I can get a house with 0 down. That's what he told me. So of course, for a boy and he's like 23, 24, so he almost just missed it or something like that, right? Because you got to be a certain age. You can't join the army after a certain age, I believe, right?
For the strictest one is like 26, and then from there it might be like 30.
Yeah, so for a young boy, he was living with his mother the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Always, he close to me, so he always would argue, always would be fussing. Like his mother's fussing with him, would be fussing with him about getting a job, about doing this and that. He upset. He always going through this and that. Always, and his stepfather threatened him. They always arguing, threatening to put him out, this and that. Now he feels so much better about himself because the oppressor give him the 0 down, give him the loan 0 down. Mm-hmm. That's how they get us.
Sir.
Now his confidence is way up now.
Can't nobody tell him nothing.
Can't nobody tell him nothing. And his parents respect. His parents now when you come in the house, it's a big picture of him with the army uniform on.
Right.
The big picture right there. They so proud of him now.
Right. He's doing something with himself.
He's doing something ridiculous. Ain't no more arguments with him. But he been arguing for years with his stepfather and mother. For arguing for years. Now all arguments down. None. America's evil, the devil. Go ahead.
Verse 37. And of them some shall be placed in the king's strongholds, of whom also shall be set over the affairs of the kingdom, which are of trust. And I will that their overseers and governors be of themselves, and that they live after their own laws, even as the king had commanded in the land of Judea. Right.
So now he's trying to give them positions and over their cities and set them up and let them, govern themselves. Let them be their own mayors. Like how you got so many black mayors and all these black mayors and governors in all these cities. Crazy, stuff that really don't matter if you ain't worship, if you ain't following the Most High. All these things are nothing. All these positions and pay and all these things are nothing if you can't worship the Most High. Go ahead.
And concerning the 3 governments that are added to Judea from the country of Samaria, let them be joined with Judea, that they may be reckoned to be under one, nor bound to obey other authority than the high priest. As for Ptolemaeus and the land pertaining thereto, I give it as a free gift to the sanctuary of Jerusalem for the necessary expenses of the sanctuary. Moreover, I give every year 15,000 shekels of silver out of the king's account from the places appertaining, and all the overplus which the officers paid and all the overplus which the officers paid not in as in former time, from henceforth shall be given toward the works of the temple.
We're just giving away everything, man. He just see when they tremble, and the reason why Demetrius is laying out, just rolling out all these riches and all these offers, is because the enemy, the Romans Alexander is so strong. So he's trembling and he's like, I need allies. And you see, they even got Judah. Like Judah was so strong and fought so many wars, but at that time Judah is like, Romans are strong. Got Demetrius, we fighting against Demetrius. Let me go make battle let me try to go be allies with Alexander. You know what I'm saying? These different kingdoms rising up and different oppressors rising up, and to shake the board up, because an oppressor will have rule for some time until it'll be another oppressor that will be stronger, or they will rise up against that one and conquer the former.
Right.
That's why I talked about that Daniel chapter 7, it talks about that, how, you know, it was Babylon, then Persian and the Medes, then Alexander, the Greek, then the Romans. Like they just conquered each, like one, and then he had the Pharaoh of Egypt. He had Egypt at first. So everybody had a chance, and then fell to the greater oppressor. Fell, got conquered like that. But Lord allowed, brought that way out shy. That after this oppressor, it'll be a kingdom of, it'll be a black kingdom.
Right.
And the black man of Jesus Christ, Yahawashi in Hebrew. All right, go ahead.
We're at verse 42. Verse 41. No, verse 42. And besides this, the 5,000 shekels of silver, which they took from the uses of the temple out of the accounts year by year, even those things shall be released, because they appertain to the priests that minister. And whosoever they be that flee unto the temple at Jerusalem, or be within the liberties thereof, being indebted unto the king, or for any other matter, let them be at liberty, and all that they have in my realm. For the building also and repairing of the works of the sanctuary, expenses shall be given of the king's account. Yea, and for the building of the walls of Jerusalem and the fortifying thereof round about, expenses shall be given out of the king's account, as also for the building of the walls of Judea. Verse 46. Now when Jonathan and the people heard these words, they gave no credit unto them, nor received them, because they remembered the great evil that he had done in Israel, for he had afflicted them very sore.
Right, because before the great enemy, Demetrius and, you know, people before Demetrius, you know what I'm saying, that kingdom had this Israel so wickedly, man. And that's why Demetrius tried to roll out something so heavy. He tried to roll out the works, bend over backwards, no homo, touching his knees, and he bent over all the way and just was like, look, you can have this, you can have that. Anybody that's in debt with me, they let them be free at liberty. If they're in my realm, you know what I'm saying, I'll cut the taxes, I'll cut everything. He giving the works because he knows how wrong he did Israel. And now Jonathan is like, and the people is like, nah, we ain't hearing that because you know what you did to us.
Right.
That's just like how America's doing black people now. And all of a sudden, you know, now Russia or China is moving in. And, you know, now, and now they like, you know, they're scared that black people won't join the oppressor. And now, you know, the president is like, you know what? Take this, you know, now what we're going to do is we got the American flag flying on the pole. Everybody now add a Black Lives Matter to the flagpole. Now, you know, I know we were all the gentrification. What we're going to do is all these new condos that were built up over on this side of the city, we're going to flush everybody out of these condos, and all black people can move in these condos that's being built up over in this side of the city. You can have this part. We're going to not tax you so much. The gas is not going to be so high. We're going to clean our water. We're going to take all the dirty water that's in Flint, Michigan. We're going to clean it. And there's going to be no more dirty water in Flint, Michigan. Just doing, you know, and we're going to give y'all the reparation y'all asked for. Everybody in America have reparations. We'll give you all y'all 40 acres and a mule. Damn that, we'll give y'all 100 acres and a mule and 30 mules. And, you know, just going outrageous with all the offers because they have a great enemy.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They will do that. And they will do that if we just stop believing in their BS and just view them as an animal.
Right.
And moreover, worship the Most High.
Right.
And they will tremble. They will tremble because the Lord will start working with us and start destroying our enemies before our eyes. Moreover. Go ahead.
Okay. So, verse 47. But with Alexander, they were well pleased because he was the first to entreat. He was the first that entreated of true peace with them, and they were confederate with him always. Then gathered King Alexander great forces and camped over against Demetrius. And after the two kings had joined battle, Demetrius' host fled, but Alexander followed after him and prevailed against him. And he continued the battle very sore until the sun went down, and that day was Demetrius slain.
Right.
Verse 51. Afterward, Alexander sent ambassadors to Ptolemy, king of Egypt, with a message to this effect: For as much as I am come again to my realm, and am set in the throne of my progenitors, and have gotten the dominion and overthrown Demetrius and recovered our country. For after I had joined battle with them, both he and his host was discomforted by us, so that we sit in the throne of his kingdom. Now therefore let us make a league of amity together, and give me now thy daughter to wife, and I will be thy son-in-law, and will give both thee and her as according to thy dignity. Then Ptolemy the king gave answer, saying, Happy be the day wherein thou didst return into the land of thy fathers, and sattest in the throne of their kingdom.
Right, because I believe these are two Edomites talking to each other.
Khan.
Right, so they're like, yeah. He's saying, Ptolemy said, that's good. Go ahead.
Khan, verse 56. And now I will do to thee as thou hast written. Meet me therefore at Ptolemais, that we may see one another, for I will marry my daughter to thee according to thy desire. So Ptolemy went out of Egypt with his daughter Cleopatra, and they came unto Ptolemais in the 162nd year, where King Alexander meeting him, he gave unto him his daughter Cleopatra, and celebrated her marriage at Ptolemais with great glory, as the manner of kings is. Now King Alexander had written unto Jonathan that he should come and meet him, who thereupon went honorably to Ptolemais, where he met the two kings and gave them their friends silver and gold and many presents, and found favor in their sight. At that time, certain pestilent fellows of Israel, men of wicked life, assembled themselves against him to accuse him, but the king would not hear them. Yea, more than that, the king commanded to take off his garment and clothe him in purple. So they did so. And he made him sit by himself, and said unto his princes, Go with him into the midst of the city, and make proclamation that no man complain against him of any matter, and that no man trouble him for any matter of cause. Now when his accusers saw that he was honored according to the proclamation and clothed in purple, they fled all away.
Right. That's always happened with wicked men. They, you know what I'm saying, see a righteous man and they don't want to be righteous. You know what I'm saying? Not everybody in the world is going to want to, not all Israel, even when Israel is winning, they just don't want to follow the Most High. They want to do their own damn thing. They're not allowed to be homosexual. They're not allowed to get high. In the kingdom of at this time, Jonathan, who was following the Most High laws, it's people who just don't want to get clean, who just don't want to get right. So they try to join the enemy or try to lie on a righteous man and gain favor like that. But at this time, the king wasn't hearing that, and they fled. No, Uncle Tom, no wicked men. Moreover, than Uncle Tom, they're wicked. Those wicked men fled away. And the king made proclamation like, anybody that speaks against Jonathan, we deal with that. We're not even going to hit him. We're not going to hear those lies.
Right.
We're going to deal with them. Go ahead.
Oh, God. Verse.
Moreover, if I go back to when Judas died, it don't say that the Lord was against it. It may be just because the men lost faith. His enemy, his men were so afraid and lost faith. And at that time, the Lord just passed away, and then Jonathan took over. Because even still here, Jonathan made some kind of legion with these Romans and Greeks, and as of now, the Lord did not punish him yet. So it could be just Jonathan. The Lord just had Jonathan because the men lost faith. Because Jonathan is doing the same thing that doing the same thing that Judas did. Go ahead.
Verse 64. Verse 65. So the king honored him and wrote him among his chief friends and made him a duke and partaker of his dominion. Afterward, Jonathan returned to Jerusalem with peace and gladness. Furthermore, in the 150th year came Demetrius, son of Demetrius, out of Crete into the land of his fathers. Whereof, when King Alexander heard tell, he was right sorry and returned to Antioch. Then Demetrius made Apollonius the governor of Cleosyria his general, who gathered together a great host and camped in Jamanea, and sent unto Jonathan the high priest, saying, Thou alone liftest up thyself amongst us, and I am laughed. Thou alone liftest up thyself against us, and I am laughed to scorn for thy sake and reproached. And why doest thou vaunt thy power against us in the mountains? Now therefore, if thou trustest in thine own power, come down to us in the plain field, and there let us try the matter together. For with me is the power of the cities. Ask and learn who I am, and the rest that take our part, and they shall tell thee that thy foot is not able to flight in their own land.
Not able to, should be said, and thy foot is not able to stand before our face. Meaning Demetrius' father was killed, and now Jonathan, is a man of high stature, and he just wants revenge for his father. That's why he's talking like this.
Oh, God.
Go ahead. Unless you grab the Apocrypha. Grab the Apocrypha so you can read out of the Apocrypha. Because that thing has got some words now we're straight.
Chapter 10.
Verse
70, 72.
Mm-hmm.
Come on. First Maccabees chapter 10, verse 72. Ask and learn who I am, and the rest that take our part, and they shall tell thee that thy foot is not able to stand before our face, for thy fathers have been twice put to flight in their own land.
Right. He said, ask about me. Ask the people around me. Ask the people that we fought. And they're going to say, you can't, Jonathan, you ain't able to touch us. Because we done made your fathers run from us before. So he talking big trash. Go ahead.
Come on, verse 73. Wherefore now thou shalt not be able to abide the horsemen, and so great a power in the plain, where is neither stone nor flint, nor place to flee unto.
Right. So he said, come to plain field. If you now, Demetrius' son is trying to avenge his father's death. He's trying to get Jonathan and Israel to come to a plain field where there's no rocks or nothing to hide behind, nothing to plan an ambush, just open field. And he said if you just come to an open field where you can't run at and run for cover, you're not gonna be able to fight us. You're gonna die. Go ahead.
74. So Jonathan heard these words of Apollonius. He was moved in his mind, and choosing 10,000 men, he went out of Jerusalem, where Simon his brother met him for to help him. Mm-hmm. And he pitched his tents against Joppa. Mm-hmm. But they of Joppa shut him out of the city, because Apollonius had a garrison there. Right. Then Jonathan laid siege unto it, whereupon they of the city let him in for fear. And so Jonathan won Joppa. Mm-hmm. Wherefore, when Apollonius heard, he took 3,000 horsemen with a great host of footmen, and went to Azotus as one that journeyed, and therewithal drew him forth into the plain, because he had a great number of horsemen. in whom he put his trust. Then Jonathan followed after him to Azotus, where the armies joined battle. Now Apollonius had left 1,000 horsemen in ambush, and Jonathan knew that there was an ambushment behind them, for they had compassed in his host and cast darts at the people from morning till evening. But the people stood still, as Jonathan had commanded them, and so the enemy's horses were tired. Then brought Simon forth his host and set them against the footmen, for the horsemen were spent, who were discomfited by him and fled.
Right. So Jonathan knew about the ambushment and just was shooting arrows at them, shooting arrows at the horsemen, and just didn't fall into that. And then he did something to make the horses tired. Oh, he did. He shot darts at them from morning to evening, for hours. So let's just say from sun up to, close to sundown before the sunset. Let's say for 8 hours, between 6, 8 hours, 10 hours, whatever. Shooting darts, and your horses have no water, have no food. Your beasts are tired, and now they can move in on you. You can't run. Your horses ain't gonna run too fast, or probably not even gonna move, probably exhausted. And now they can move in. Go ahead.
Okay. Verse 82. Then brought Simon forth his host and set them up against the footmen, for the horsemen were spent, who were discomfited by him. The horsemen also being scattered in the field fled to Azotus and went into Beth Dagon, their idol's temple, for safety. But Jonathan set fire to Azotus and the cities round about it, and took their spoils, and the temple of Dagon with them that were fled into it, he burnt with fire. Thus they were burnt and slain with the sword, well nigh 8,000 men. And from thence Jonathan removed his host and encamped against Ascalon, where the men of the city came forth and met him with great pomp. After this returned Jonathan and his host unto Jerusalem, having many spoils. Now when King Alexander heard these things, he honored Jonathan yet more, and sent him a buckle of gold as the use is to be given to such as are of the king's blood. Right.
So now, King Alexander is giving him things that, that's only should be passed down to the king's lineage through his sons, like gifts like that. You get what I'm saying? So Alexander defeated Demetrius' father, Demetrius, conquered that land, but when Demetrius' son came, Alexander removed himself from Demetrius' land and gave it to his son. I guess either out of respect or whatever, it must have been fear. Not too much fear, but probably respect or whatever. Who knows? He was like, okay, well, you his son here, you can have this land, and left. But it does not mean that, he was that he was not enemies with Demetrius. He just gave him that land back. But now when Jonathan defeated him, he cheered him on and now gave him a buckle of gold as the use is to be given to such that are the king's blood. So damn near like inheritance or money. Like you give your family money or your sons or family inherit your wealth. That's what they're saying. Like give him a buckle of gold where so you usually give your family that money. Or your sons will inherit that those gifts, those riches like that. Go ahead and read.
He gave him also Acheron with the borders thereof in possession.
Mm-hmm.
First Maccabees 11:1. And the king of Egypt gathered together a great host like the sand that lieth upon the seashore, and many ships, and went about through the sea to get Alexander's kingdom and join it to his own.
Right. Now the king of Egypt had gave, his son had gave his daughter away to Alexander, or this could be the next king of Egypt. But now he's trying to be deceptive and deceive Alexander. And now he's trying to go. He came with him, they said, with an army that's like the sand of the like the sand that lieth at the shore. Many millions and billions, not even billions. You get the sand, the grains of sand, or however you count each, whatever. I don't know if it's grain of sand or whatever, but it's uncountable. You can't even count it all.
Mm-hmm.
You probably spend a lifetime counting all those grains.
Right.
So that means the king of Egypt came heavy at Alexander. Go ahead.
Khan. Verse 2, whereupon he took his journey into Syria in peaceable manner, so as they of the cities opened up unto him and met him. For King Alexander had commanded them to do so because he was his father-in-law.
Right. See? So it was him. So he's like, that's why you can't trust heathens. Like, things would be good. Like the man, like Alexander even gave him his daughter, gave him some vagina to cool him down and have him in his hand. So now when he comes heavy with his army, Alexander is seeing the big number, but ain't even thinking nothing of it. Like, oh, this is my father-in-law. Come on in. King of Egypt trying to do him dirty.
Right.
And that's a good play. Like, okay, get a heathen the daughter. You having kids and you all in love with this female. Well, I'm about to take everything back. I'm going to take everything from you. It's a good setup. If you wise, or only if you're the Lord, you can conquer a woman and not be all tied up like that. Go ahead.
Verse 3, now as Ptolemy entered into the cities, he set in every one of them a garrison of soldiers to keep it. Mm-hmm. And when he came near to Azotus, they showed him the temple of Dagon that was burnt, and Azotus and the suburbs thereof that were destroyed, and the bodies that were cast abroad, and them that had burnt in the battle, but they had made heaps of them by the way where he should pass.
They just piled up bodies, just like how they did in you seen 300. They had a wall, but there's a wall of people just stacked on top of each other, just like that. Go ahead.
Verse 5. Also they told the king whatsoever Jonathan had done, to the intent he might blame him, but the king held his peace.
Mm-hmm.
Then Jonathan met the king with great pomp in Joppa, where they saluted one another and lodged. Afterward, Jonathan, when he had gone with the king to the river called Elatreus, returned again to Jerusalem. King Ptolemy, therefore, having gotten the dominion of the cities by the sea unto Seleucus upon the sea coast, imagined wicked counsels against Alexander. Whereupon he sent ambassadors unto King Demetrius, saying, Come, let us make a league betwixt us, and I will give thee my daughter whom Alexander hath, and thou shalt reign in thy father's kingdom. For I repent. What was that?
Go ahead.
For I repent. What was that? Was that word? It looks like a verse 10.
For I repent that I gave my daughter unto him, for he sought to slay me. So now he lied to Demetrius, and they must all be Edomites. Demetrius, Alexander, and Ptolemy, his father-in-law. Now he's saying, he's saying he's gonna be on Demetrius' side. That's probably why Alexander gave the kingdom back to Demetrius, because Demetrius probably was an Edomite. He probably was like, okay, well, we was brothers fighting each other. But okay, that's what I'm gonna give you. I did kill your father. I'm gonna give you this throne back. I'm gonna give you just his land that we took. I'm gonna give you that back because it belongs to you. It belongs to your father. And now Ptolemy just passed his daughter around like a hoe, using her real good, like a real prostitute. Like, okay, go have sex with him, marry with him, and I'm gonna take you back, and I'm gonna give you to Demetrius. And now Demetrius probably seeing her like, And I don't know. I don't think this is the popular Cleopatra. There was many different Cleopatras too during this era. So I don't know if this woman is beautiful or not. They're probably salivating over this woman. and just probably just want her. Just like Marilyn Monroe, how everybody they said all the Kennedys try to have sex with her, all the celebrities try to have sex with Marilyn Monroe. This King Ptolemy is passing his daughter around like that. Go ahead.
It's like, isn't that the definition of a queen? Isn't that how the way she's being treated? Isn't she like the epitome of a queen?
Cleopatra?
Kind of.
Well, no, that name. That's why she has that name. Like that name is famous for whatever reason.
Well, no, not saying Cleopatra, like the title queen, like the original.
The definition. That's the definition.
The way they were saying she's just a tool, and they just pass her around.
That's the you said that's the original definition.
Kind. That's what I read. The original definition of the queen was she was just used as a bargaining chip, and she was just passed around for basically power use.
And that's exactly what he's doing here. Passing her around. Go ahead. So as a bargaining chip.
Verse 11. Thus did he slander him, because he was desirous of his kingdom. Wherefore he took his daughter from him and gave her to Demetrius and forsook Alexander, so that their hatred was openly known. Then Ptolemy entered into Antioch, where he set 2 crowns upon his head, the crown of Asia and of Egypt. In the mean season was King Alexander of Cilicia, because those
that dwelt. They say in the mean season was King Alexander. This is brought. That's what I'm saying. Just grab the red book. You grab the red book. And so when you picked up at, we left off at was verse 12. Wherefore now he took his daughter from him and gave him to Demetrius and forsook Alexander, so that their kindred so that their hatred was openly known. You pick up 13, go ahead.
13. First Maccabees, chapter 10 and verse 13. Insomuch as every man left his peace and went into his own country.
So First Maccabees 11.
Maccabees 11.
Verse
13.
Mm-hmm.
Then Ptolemy entered into Antioch, where he set 2 crowns upon his head, and the crown of Asia and of Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
In the mean season was King Alexander and Cilicia, because those that dwelt in those parts had revolted from him. But when Alexander heard of this, he came to war against him. Whereupon King Ptolemy brought forth his host and met him with a mighty power and put him to flight.
Right, because he came like the king of Egypt, like he came deep. Like it's saying he came with so many men, and that you gotta and any other person would know. Like, hold on, wait a minute. My father-in-law don't have to come that heavy.
Right.
Like something had to be up. Like you came with so many men. They saying it's like he came with so many men that was like the sand at the sea.
Mm-hmm.
Just to show like how many millions of men there was. Like why you come to visit me? Why you coming that deep with an army? You should have knew something. You got to know something is up. Come that deep. Go ahead. So we put Alexander to flight. And 16.
Verse 16. So Alexander fled into Arabia, there to be defended. But
Mm-hmm.
King Ptolemy was exalted. Verse 17. For Zabdiel, the Arabian, took off Alexander's head and sent it unto Ptolemy. King Ptolemy also died in the 3rd day after, and they that were in the strongholds were slain one of another. By this means Demetrius reigned in the 170th year. At the same time Jonathan gathered together them that were in Judea to take the tower that was in Jerusalem, and he made them engines of war against it. Then certain ungodly persons who hated their own people went unto the king and told them that Jonathan besieged the tower.
Right. See, and it's all like, when they be like, you be your own people. Like, you just gotta be like, just wicked men. It said just men. It said then ungodly men. So ungodly meaning like they just don't. They just want to rule over their people and be wicked. But in a righteous kingdom, they cannot be. It's just some people who just don't want to get right, can't get right. They want to stay wicked. They're just gonna have to die.
Right.
The Lord have to put them to death because they will always try to turn against you. They'll try to go to some enemy to turn against you. Go ahead.
It's like, if I could, how wicked do you have to be to see that a father-in-law turned on his son-in-law and went to a person who hated him, who hated your people,
right?
And then they turned on each other, they killed each other, and then now the people who the guy who's left hates you, his father hates you, and is from the old time that you was there, they did evil to you, and then you're gonna turn your back on your own people to go to that people who hates you and put you in under oppression.
Mm-hmm.
And all this dude wants to do is to get you out of that oppression. What kind of wicked person would? What kind of wicked man?
Mindset you in? I can think about. Only thing I can think about is men who just fear, who just want to be wicked, who hate the Most High. They don't want to follow the Most High. They want to do lewd acts and all kind of abomination, and only a heathen will give them the freedom to do so. And there should be some more other stuff to that, and I'm gonna ask you to Muhammad about it. Go ahead.
Verse 23. Whereof when he heard, he was angry, and immediately removing, he came to Ptolemaeus, and wrote unto Jonathan that he should not lay siege to the tower, but come and speak with him at Ptolemaeus in great haste. Nevertheless, Jonathan, when he heard this, commanded to besiege it still, and he chose certain of his elders of Israel and the priests, and to put himself in peril, and took silver and gold and raiment and diverse presents besides, and went to Ptolemaeus unto the king, where he found favor in his sight. And though certain ungodly men of the people had made complaints against him, yet the king entreated him as his predecessors had done before, and promoted him in the sight of all his friends, and confirmed him in the high priesthood, and in all the honors that he had before, and gave him preeminence among his chief friends. Then Jonathan desired the king that he would make Judea free from tribute, as also the three governments with the country of Samaria, and he promised him 300 talents. So the king consented, and wrote letters unto Jonathan of all these things after this manner. King Demetrius unto his brother Jonathan, and unto the nation of the Jews, sendeth greeting. We send you here a copy of the letter which we did write unto our cousin Lathanus concerning you, that ye might see it. King Demetrius unto his father Lathanus sendeth greetings. We are determined to do good to the people of We are determined to do good to the people of the Jews, who are our friends, and keep covenants with us, because they are good with their goodwill towards us. Wherefore we have ratified unto them the borders of Judea, with the three governments of Ephraim and Lydia and Ramathaim, that are added unto Judea from the country of Samaria, and all things appertaining unto them, for all such as do sacrifice in Jerusalem, and set the payments with the king received of them yearly aforetime out of the fruits of the earth and of the trees. And as for other things that belong unto us, of the tithes and customs pertaining unto us, also the salt pits and the crown taxes, which are due unto us, we discharge them of them all for their relief, and nothing hereof shall be revoked from this time forth forever. Now therefore see that thou make a copy of these things, and let it be delivered unto Jonathan, and set upon the holy mount in the conspicuous place. After this, when King Demetrius saw that the land was quiet before him, and that no resistance was made against him, he sent away all his forces, every one to his own place, except certain bands of strangers, whom he had gathered from the isles of the heathen. Wherefore all the forces of his fathers hated him. Moreover, there was one Tryphon that had been of Alexander's part afore, who, seeing that all the hosts murmured against Demetrius, went to Semacule the Arabian, that brought up Antiochus the young son of Alexander, and laid sore upon him to deliver him this young Antiochus, that he might reign in his father's stead. He told him therefore all that Demetrius had done, and how his men of war were at enmity with him, and there he remained a long season. In the meantime, Jonathan sent King Demetrius that he would cast those of the tower out of Jerusalem, and those also in the fortress, and they fought against Israel.
They fought
against Israel.
Mm-hmm.
So verse 42. So Demetrius sent unto Jonathan, saying, I will not only do this for thee and thy people, but I will greatly honor thee and thy nation if opportunity serve. Now therefore thou shalt do So now therefore shalt do well if thou send me men to help me, for all my forces are gone from me. Upon this Jonathan sent him 3,000 strong men unto Antioch. And when they came to the king was very glad of their coming. Howbeit they that were of the city gathered themselves together into the midst of the city to the number of 120,000 men, and would have slain the king. Wherefore the king fled into the court, but they of the city kept the passages of the city and began to fight. Then the king called to the Jews for help, who came unto him all at once, and dispersing themselves through the city, slew that day in the city to the number of 100,000. Also they set fire on the city, and got many spoils that day, and delivered the king. So when they of the city saw that the Jews had got the city as they would, their courage was abated. Wherefore they made supplication to the king and cried, saying, Grant us peace, and let the Jews cease from assaulting us and the city.
Right. So you see, like anytime the Jews with the Lord, and the Jews here fighting, here are fighting. And now they ask him, please, Demetrius, please cause these Jews from fighting you. Go ahead. We're going to read 2 more verses and wrap up.
Verse 51. With that, they cast away their weapons and made peace. And the Jews were honored in the sight of the king and in the sight of all that were in the realm. And they returned to Jerusalem, having great spoils. So King Demetrius sat on the throne of his kingdom, and the land was quiet before him. Mm-hmm. Keep reading.
One more.
Verse 53. Nevertheless, he disassembled in all that ever he spake, and estranged himself from Jonathan. Neither rewarded he him according to the benefits which he had received of him, but troubled him very sore.
Right. So, once he was free and back on his land, and the land was quiet before him, then Demetrius again broke the covenant with Judah, with Israel, and with Jonathan was like, I said I was going to do this and reward you and all that, but he didn't do it. He didn't do it at all. But he said, but trouble them very soon. So he still continued to trouble Israel in some way.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Can't trust his heathen. Probably should have just. He already made a promise with him, so they had to come. But probably could have just let him be killed, be slain by his people.
didn't have to work so hard.
Right. Was that we just we so now we see that we stopped at 11, chapter 11, verse 50.
54, sir.
54, and we're gonna pick back up there. With that, we'll pass the class, the priest and the officer Wakwasha.
Security announcements. We are the I.S.U.P.K. out of 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, and the Commander-in-Chief YAHANNA. New rules for brothers and sisters. If a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to shed themselves of the world. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to marry. Select he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There is another 6 months in which a brother or sister will court each other. After this 6 month period, the brother or sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment. You can find this in Numbers 18 and 21 and Malachi 3, 8 to 10. It means 10th in Hebrew and it's pronounced ma'ashara. 10% of any penny of any increase the Lord gives you, give to the treasury department or teacher. Priest fund, free will offering for priests, not mandatory. Whatsoever amount you would like to give. Upcoming holy convocation. Next upcoming holy convocation is the memorial of the blowing of the trumpets, which is the first day of the 7th month, which is Monday, September 6th, 2021. You can find this in Leviticus 23, 24 through 25. We also have the cookout. The next cookout will be Chicago. It is July 21st through the 25th. Also, Commander General YAHANNA's Black Watch show is every Monday night from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell in order to get the notifications whenever he comes live. Do you need to add something on that, sir?
No, that's it.
Con. Remind Akim and Akwathim to check on social media such as ISUPK.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and so on for I.S.U.P.K events and materials. If a brother wants to be a trooper in the school, you should start wearing all black, which includes black boots, black shirts, black pants, black headbands, and scarf. With that, I say Michael, which means stand. Wapanya Hakudan, which means turn and face the east. We're going to say the Lord's Prayer first in Hebrew. Repeat after me. Abanaw, Shabbat Shemayim, Kodash, Hayah, Shemka, Yahweh, Malakufka, Daba'ah, Ratzayaka, Hayah, Aisha, Baratiza, Kawa, Hayah, Bashemayim, Thundanaw, Lakam, Kal, Yawam, Wasalakinaw, Kabawatinaw, Kasalakinaw, Kabawatinaw, Wala'ah, Tabi'ayinaw, Balasaya 1, Abal, Hawashayinaw, Mayan, Rai, Kaya, Laka, Hamalakwath, Wa'ala, Watapara, La'ayamin, Aman.
In English, our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done. In earth, as in heaven. Give us this day. Our daily bread. And forgive us of our debts. As we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation. But deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom. And the power. And the glory. Forever. So be it.
With that, I say Sar, which means a turn. We'll give one courtesy salute to the teacher. Men of Israel, Madam Shabbat, Haimajan, Barak, Yahweh Hashem Yahshua Barakatah, Yajmatah, class dismissed.